Hello, Renee Flamand here. You guys, this is for anybody that's ever in their lives felt that because they were single, they were lesser than. So that could be you broke up with your narcissist. That includes every one of you. That includes anybody that's single. And there's a lot of pressure and there's a lot of societal formation around the couple, the twosome, the reservations for two, the programming is couples. I remember, without looking it up, Mary Tyler Moore, right? That was why that was so revolutionary. It was a single girl working, making her way in the city. Big news. Big news. It had never been done before, right? Again, without looking it up, but isn't that what it was with Mary Tyler Moore? It was celebrated, but it's become a thing. And a lot of people end up feeling bad, especially this time of year with Valentine's Day coming. People start to feel bad, or around the holidays, they start to feel bad. This video is about helping you realize and embrace and know that you are not of the lesser set because you are single. And I'm going to pretty much I read it over, it's exactly how I still feel. An article I wrote October 14th of 2016 is when this article went on my, I don't really keep up with the blog anymore, but there's a collection of over 100 articles that I posted in there just for my own record keeping. This is one of them. And I put it out there every holiday, every Valentine's Day, especially to my people, or I'll send a link to someone, because people feel bad right now that they're single. And you know, it's such a series of arcs in life. At least it is for the set of us who do not have a steady diet of the consistency that can be life for other people. For those of us for whom things change in that department, and for whom, like, the only constants in my case are my child, my brother, parents, my home, certain friends and cousins. I mean, when you think about constants in your life, life can be the most tumultuous, zany ride. And I just tend to embrace whichever state befalls me, be it a state of consistency or all outrage. Do you follow what I'm saying? And we talked about that before, about being happy in your present moment. I really have a knack to do that. I don't long for things, and I don't can't wait to have the things. I really do enjoy here. So my constants are my anchors, and I know you have yours too, without whom I doubt I could float along as gracefully as I think I'm doing, right? In the sea of insanity that can be present when you do not have those few compartments of life, meaning love, that couples, you don't have them settled. It's an indeterminate. It's a to be announced. You don't have a plus one. You don't have a team. You're not it's Renee and, so-and-so. Some people like that. They like that consistency. They like that department in their life, that compartment in their life to be buttoned up. They like to be a couple. And, I have written, articles wherein I explain hats off. Because for those of you who get this compartment down and you're happy and you're doing the work, I applaud you, because it's not easy. However, when you are of my set, and some might say I'm perpetually single, I'm single by choice, however you're single, if you are of the single set, those who have not nailed down that love compartment of life, it can get some folks pretty down. I tend to thrive in these times, so I'm trying to help you see it the way that I see it. Because I don't get down at Valentine's Day. I don't get down on holidays. I don't get down on my birthday. The unknown, the openness, the palette of possibilities give me quite the rush. I'm all for finding consistency organically from my own personal path. But until I do, I'll never be the one to besmirch the freedom I have to do whatever, whenever, with whomever, or without whatever, or nowhere, or simply not doing a thing. There is so much about the freedom that it's impossible for me not to embrace it. There's so much good about it. After all, it could end tomorrow with the other thing, the other kind of happily ever after. If I did meet somebody, then my freedom, the way I know it, and I rule, every second of my life is my own. That would end if I were to meet someone, fall in love, have a relationship, right? Of course, you spend time together. Automatically, mathematically, it goes away, your time alone. So right now, I embrace it as it's here. And the thing is, just because that other kind of happily ever after hasn't happened for you yet, it does not mean you can't be happy now already as such. That is such I'm so fervent on it because the liberation of the situation is intoxication for me. And again, yes, for those of you who have figured out this compartment of life, that side of the coin has its slew of advantages. The whole +1 life, of course it does, and no one is saying any differently, and neither am I. But I'm here to point out that not having settled this particular compartment of life is by no means lesser than or worse. Being single is not worse than being in a couple. Being single is not lesser than being in a couple. Embrace it, enjoy it, get to know yourself, create, work, parent, redecorate, golf, knit. It doesn't really matter what you do. Whatever your thing is, take the time to do it. I know many people that are in relationships that are like, oh, Renee, I wish I had your life for one weekend. Because I'll ask them what they did, and then they'll ask me what I did. My weekend usually is a lot of relaxation and zenful introspection and music, and they've been running all over the place, half of which they didn't want to do. It's tongue-in-cheek, but I'm saying if you embrace your life, you'd realize if you're taking the time to do the things that you love, that's how you're going to elevate yourself to being able to get through this. And don't fret. God, the universe, or whomever, or whatever you believe has power, may have something in store for you, but later. I always think that way. I don't fret at all. I just know that if it isn't happening right now, I don't get sad or discouraged. As I hear from so many people. Just be grateful. Take yourself out of the game on purpose, like I do periodically, like I'm doing now, and just live as your own authentic self without any influence from anyone. It can be ravishing. I promise you. And I do feel bad when people get sad or discouraged during the time when they're single. And you know, I guess I've just always believed 100%. I've always believed, and I still do, that where you should be is where you will be and are currently. Now, that's not to say we're not all in charge of our own path. Of course we are to an extent. But, I mean, there are choices after all, decisions, moves we make which can and do each lead us to paths that differ. Sometimes no choice is your choice. Doing nothing is your choice. Doing everything is your choice. Being calm, being wild. Extreme these may be, but they can all lead us to paths you must encounter in life to land you where you're supposed to land. And it may not be that your person is available yet. It may not be that you're ready to receive your person yet. It may not, like, I trust that there's a plan. Like, he knows The energy knows, they know, and I just trust in the plan that when it is aligned properly, right person, right time, that's when it will strike. Until then, why are you going through life unhappy? And you know, I believe in order to grow and be ready to accept what may lie ahead, in my case, if I didn't experience the long way, and I told you that before, I don't learn. So I absolutely needed the lesson that we talk about a lot with the narcissism to walk me and punch me right in my face. And I wrote this article 6 years ago, and I wrote that. Didn't write narcissism, but I wrote that. So I had already had a hard lesson in the way of relationships that I didn't hear. Because I don't hear them unless I'm punched in the face by the lesson. I never hear whispers. But I still didn't learn it. The lessons that I was referring to when I wrote that line, I still didn't learn it because I encountered a couple more. Because I think that was definitely 100% something that I wish I were one of these people with inherent wisdom, you know, an innate knowledge of what's what. You know, those kind of people. But no, that's not me. Some of us just aren't built that way. We have to learn the hard way. And I've always worked harder than I have smart. But for some reason, I think it's because I feel the lesson, if it's hard earned and hard learned, it can be more readily claimed by me, maybe. I know, right? And I've been hardwired from day one to take the hard and long lesson. Pretty dysfunctional, yes. And I recognize that. And I know that, and I own that, and therefore it's okay. I'm working on it. Okay, digression. I just digressed. The single set has generally been touted as the lesser set. And I get why. If the ultimate goal for most of us is eventually to have this compartment of life nailed down, then yes, the single set may be considered, in that regard, the lesser set. Just that it's not the norm and it's lesser mathematically, you're one person. But it's not lesser, more vital, more important, more as exuberant, more as, you know, you have just as much vitality as a single person as somebody as two people. You should be able to walk into a room, go to any party. I've not had a +1 in my life for most of my life. Even when I was married, he was very busy. He worked a lot. I'm from Rhode Island. I would go home a lot. He didn't come. I have been pretty much alone for the whole of my... If I were to someone to get sad with that, because I didn't take, like, every boyfriend you have doesn't go home to a family reunion with you. You know what I mean? So I would have my dalliances, but for the most part, to important functions and events, I haven't had a +1. And I just don't know why it doesn't bother me. I think that, again, for most of you that have this nailed down, it's a huge accomplishment. Huge. But what if you're unified with another person? If you have it nailed down and you're happy, it's a huge accomplishment. But what if you're nailed down to another individual, but you're unhappy? You're unsatisfied. You're mad all the time. You're angry, right? That relates to a lot of us that have gone out with narcissists or been married to narcissists. You spend most of your time that way in that negative space. So, I mean, we've all known people who seem to have it down, but clearly inside do not. We've known those kinds of people. So I'm wondering, is that better than being of the single set, was my point. To be unhappy, to be one of those angry people. Do you feel better just because you are coupled with somebody? I'd much rather go without having a +1 to 35 years of adult functions and not have problems on my arm. I have a good time wherever I go. There's no, if I think, you know, it's not that I never bring anyone anywhere. That's not what I mean. But for the big things, I've pretty much been, you know, there's nobody, people don't say Renee and so-and-so. Do you know what I mean? It's not Renee and Marshall Mathers III are coming for dinner. That doesn't happen. Eminem. He's never answered my fan letter, but whatever. When you are unhappy in a couple, to me, that can be even, you can feel more alone than if you are actually alone. Because you're not getting any of the benefits of being coupled with someone, but you're getting a lot of the work. So that's all I'm saying. Are they better off? You know, this article, when I was writing it, evolved into one for the single set who do allow themselves to feel lesser than or not quite there yet, simply because they are of said set of being single. Don't get me wrong. To those of you who have achieved it, I'll say it again and again and again, with the ultimate state, and you've reached that state with your mate. Yes, you've done the ultimate and made the sacrifices and did the work to nurture it, to get that prize. The people that I know that have that prize, they work at it. They're functioning healthily as a couple, right? We all want love, I think. And I think if we say otherwise, then we're either lying or we're lying to ourselves. I mean, again, but for some of us, if we don't have that, it doesn't mean we can't embrace the solitude, the reflection, the self-awareness and growth that being alone can and does bring to those of us who cannot seem to be otherwise occupied in any capacity with another human being. It just hasn't, I haven't found it yet. It hasn't happened. I've told you that before. So you can use the time to figure yourself out. It's a long road for some of us. Some of us don't just find it. And I guess my concern here is for so many of those who seem to allow their single status to define them and deplete them. I know somebody who finally met somebody, but they were single for a number of years. And they had me on the phone a couple of months before they did finally meet somebody, and they were just down and sad about it. I could not change this person's mind about that feeling. I couldn't change this person's mind about that feeling. So I understand that it can get that way, but why are we less than if we are not attached to another person is my original question with this article, right? Why are we less than? The reason for this article is because I'm trying to pass on the feeling that we are not less than. We're different, but heck no, are we less than? Sometimes a tragic event befalls somebody and somebody is thrust into the single set. Right? Widows, divorces, breakups. Come on, are any members of those clubs lesser than? So somebody was happily married and they lost their spouse? They're 80 years old, they've been married 50 years, they lost their spouse. Technically, they're single. Are they of the lesser set? You might say, well, that's different. Why? You don't think that person's lonely? I often think about that too. I have, being 54, we're at the age now that we've experienced it. We've seen people lose their parents. We see how the other parent reacts. We've had friends lose their spouses, right, at our age group. We've seen a lot now. And I always think to myself, I won't have that. And God does things funny. Maybe he knew that I was the type that if I were attached to somebody for 67 years and they died, that I would be finished and couldn't handle that. Maybe he knew that about me. So maybe he has a 40-year successful marriage in store for me that'll start in 5 years or 2 years or this year. But that's all I could handle. See, my mind will wrap around anything to make sure I understand that it's in a positive way. So I trust the plan. But we are not in any way, societal norms do tend to dictate, though, that a single person on site without gathering any information at all is lesser than. And that's not nice. They might have just gone through a breakup that's making them very sad. But they don't want to be thought of as lesser than. They might have just lost a spouse, had a divorce. They don't want to feel lesser than. Both people, neither one are lesser than. They're just two people out in the world now with a different status. And And maybe, like in my case, maybe we are choosing to be in the single set. Maybe we are choosing to remain apart from the mad circle that can encompass dating. Because that is an entire leg of being single that if you choose to get out into the dating life, it's something that somebody coupled doesn't have to deal with. Some people that are coupled that I know would love to deal with having a dating life that is variety. And I just feel that maybe we even recognize that to have found the Holy Grail is fantastic. But just because we have not, we embrace it. What you have in front of you, embrace. If it's just you, spend a ton of time with friends, family, doing activities you love. There's a whole world out there. Just because you don't have a partner doesn't mean you can't live it, right? And everything I do or make happen, this is another intoxicating element of being single. Everything and anything I do is my choice. You know what I mean? Like I am more than for knowing and experiencing what my authentic self wants. So in that capacity, I am more than the average coupled person. Because the average coupled person that I know, both people give up a lot. Why can't both just keep what they each love and have a full life leading that? They don't even want to separate to go do an activity, some people. So, all right, I just won't swim anymore. He doesn't swim. I just won't go to the beach. He doesn't like it. Well, she won't golf with me. Who am I going to golf with? People give up things. Why? So that's a plus to being single, is you don't have to give up anything. You don't have to give up a thing. And everything you do is your choice. But there's not even for one bloody second do I feel lesser than. And I don't want you to. We are not of the lesser set. Because if something happens, like everything is your choice. And if it isn't, something happens, then I believe the universe or God happened it to me to rid me of that person or that situation for my benefit. Or path enhancement. Or lesson hitting me in the face. The point is, let them go. If there is somebody that you are, despondent over, or you just had a breakup, or take the hint from the universe and let them go. If enough happened that was messy and you've given it your all, guess what? They came, they went, you'll learn. But don't stay to avoid being alone. Single is not in any way lesser than. Even if admittedly, otherwise I'd sound like a hypocrite, love is the ultimate goal. And when I say that, a lot of people might say, no, I'm telling you, Renee, I'm, 76, I'm done, I don't ever, okay, I'm not saying that there aren't people like that, but I bet those people have already had a great love. I bet those people have already experienced something that they consider they can take with them as they've experienced. I've not had my person yet. I don't think. And I told you, I married a wonderful guy, stellar guy, but not my person. You know what I mean? So I look at the possibilities, I get very excited, and I want you to do the same. And when I say love is the ultimate goal, is because that is the human condition. We are built for companionship. And if you are somebody that doesn't want that, then je m'excuse. But I do believe love and finding that is the human condition. That's our ultimate goal, right? But I don't live my life trying to get that goal. I leave it. And I just live as a single, just as important as a couple person. And again, there's events and things all the time. And my friends will invite me. They say, yeah, come on. Of course, I could bring someone, but they know I'm not walking in with anybody. That's a staple that's just been a commonality in my life. Because I have a lot of good friends, and I'm not the type, I don't always want or need to bring somebody new into a fold right away. So not all my friends have met everybody I've ever dated. So you're alone a lot. But it's kind of nice. You don't have to worry about anybody in the world except yourself and the people close to you, your children, your family, your friends. So I repost this. And I mean, at least I'd like to think love is the ultimate goal for people. I wish everybody happy, healthy, in love if they want. So if that is something that we all end up finding, that's great. But if we do not, then I don't think that means that we're lesser than. And you want to give it some thought if you're staying with somebody because you think it will be lesser than. Well, Renee, it's going to be hard. I mean, how am I going to do by myself? I've never There are trials and tribulations for every single person with which they must contend if they change their life. Whether you go from single to married, married to divorced, it doesn't matter. There's a list, a bunch of changes, yes, that you have to get used to. Some are negative, some are positive. So that is something that, yes, you'll have to figure it out. There are going to be things. But to stay with somebody because you're afraid of being alone, because you think it's part of the lesser set, I just won't allow it. Like I'm going to come to your house. But you know what I mean? It's just not proper to do to yourself. So I just wanted to mention that at this time of year. Valentine's Day is coming up. Please don't feel lesser than on Valentine's Day. It doesn't even faze me when it comes. And even when I'm in a relationship, I half make fun of the holiday. And I'm a romantic, but it is a Hallmark holiday. I do think certain holidays were invented for reasons that benefit certain kinds of companies. And it was a brilliant thing to invent Valentine's Day. A lot of money is spent. I can't imagine the revenue spent on Valentine's Day. But it doesn't mean that you're lesser than because you don't have a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a husband or a wife on February 14th. It's just another day. Watch TV. It doesn't, like I said, it doesn't even faze me when it happens. So I want you to get to the same place, okay? So I wanted to mention this. I always run this article or try to remind people of this state of mind at this time of year especially. So go ahead and hit sub, like, and share. We'd love to have you join us again. Thank you for watching our Off Topic Friday, and I hope you have a great weekend. See you Monday.